Right, today we're going to have a look at how to make an invisible camouflage person against a background. You can do this with people, you can do this with objects, but this will be the outcome or something similar too. So let me talk you through how to do that. Well, the first thing you're going to need is your camera and a tripod, and you've got to really secure that camera on the tripod to ensure that the camera doesn't move when you press for the picture to be taken. And then you should come out with two photographs like so, one with your model, one without. Working on the one with your model, you're going to need to use the quick selection tool, which is here. Add to your quick selection, take away from your quick selection. You may need to zoom in and just make sure you get around all the edges of your model quite well. And that's quite important. I'll explain why in a moment. Once you've got that selected, the next thing you're going to do is hold Command and press J to duplicate your layer. Now if you look at your layers table, you can see that we have a layer just with the model. Now with that layer selected, you're going to need to desaturate it completely, turn it black and white, get rid of all the colour, and to do that you're going to hold Command, Shift and press U, and that will get rid of all the colour altogether. Now the first thing we're going to need to do with this is create a displacement map, and that's a filter we'll use later on, but it creates a map where when you apply it to another image, it wraps that image around the contours of the displacement. So to do that, down here on the layers table you'll see there's layers, channels and paths of different tabs. If you go to the end on the drop down menu and select duplicate layer, you can leave that as layer copy 1, but on the document you're going to create new, and this will open it as a brand new screen, and you're just going to name that. So I'm going to call that displacement displacement 1. Okay, and you can see now we've opened a brand new document with displacement 1, and we're just going to create the displacement now. Displacement maps often work better if you give them a bit of a blur, so we're going to go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and it's already at 3, which is where I want it at, and then you press OK. You won't see a huge difference to begin with, but it will make a difference to your displacement map. Then we're going to save it. So File, Save As. So I'm just going to save this to my desktop as displacement 1, leave it as a PSD file, and save. Press OK, and then you can close that displacement file. We don't need it. Now, using the Move tool, which you can select off the sidebar or by pressing V, you want to drag your subject up off the page onto your background. Now that might be a little out of place at first. You can move it roughly where it needs to be, but we're going to unsee that anyway, and then we're going to click into the background layer. Once we've clicked into the background layer, we need to apply the distortion map. So you go to Filter, Distort, and Displace. We want it 30, 30, stretch to fit and wrap around. So make sure that's selected like this. It may be different on your current settings. Press OK. Then we need to find our displacement map. There we are, and then we press Open. And that'll take effect, and you can see now that everything is slightly displaced. Don't worry about the edges here, we can just crop those out later. So let's see our model again and select that layer. Now if you do need to move it left and right, you can just use the arrow keys and try and match it up as best as possible. That looks fine to me. So now we're going to do some edits, and we're going to copy this layer several times. Pardon me. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to change that blend mode to soft light, and we're going to change the fill on that to 50%. That will mean it will reduce the opacity, but not the effects of anything, any sort of effects that we apply to that layer. Now, if you double select the layer itself, not on the text because that'll go to rename it, but in the blank space next to it, it'll bring up your layer styles. Double click Inner Glow and it'll take you to this screen. We're going to change the blend mode here to Colour Dodge. Where's that gone? Colour Dodge. And we're going to reduce the opacity to around 25%. And we're going to bring up the choke to the top, and we're going to change the size to about 24, for example, and then press OK. Now we have all our effects here, and then we're going to, well selected on this layer, we're going to hold Command and J, and that will repeat that layer, but we're going to do some more edits to it. So we're going to double click where it says Inner Glow. That will bring back up this table. Here now we're going to change the blend mode again to soft light. We're going to increase the opacity, but we're going to reduce the choke, and we're going to press OK. And then we're going to duplicate that one more time. We're going to get rid of the effects. We're going to reduce that fill a little more. It's about 35. And then we're going to change the blend mode here to hard light. Let me just find that. There we go, it's just underneath. And then you have something similar to the effect that we had, or I showed you before. Once this is complete, we can crop that. And it's complete. So if you zoom in, you'll be able to see now where it's contoured around the subject. One thing to note here that I changed on this version of the image is that it is much softer around the edges. I did that in two ways. One, when looking in Inner Glow, I changed this yellow colour to much browner tones because I found that complemented the background more, and you can change those colours to whatever you need them to be to suit your image. And then I also applied to on all my layers. I clicked on the image at the top and applied layer masks. Layer masks are on the principle that you can take or add from the image just by using black and white. So currently, on black, you can soften the effects down on the edges. So I went through and applied layer masks to each individual layer, and then started to remove some of those effects from the edge. And that's how, working around the whole image, I softened the background to this sort of effect. Of course, you can play around with all the different settings and blend modes on it to get your desired effect, but that's how you will camouflage your subject.